Loved you in the quiet where nobody could see, like my feelings were a secret even you didn't need. I stood behind your sunshine, I lived behind your glow, smiling like I wasn't breaking every time you let me go. You never held my sadness, you only held my head, only when it was convenient, only when you could stand. And I kept calling it love, even when it was pain. Even when my name in your mouth sounded empty, not the same. I learned how to disappear while staying by your side. I learned to swallow tears so you could keep your pride. I became the almost girl, the one you never chose, the heart you could ignore but still keep close. My heart was your shadow, always following you, always one step behind you. And everything you do, I loved you without asking if you loved me too. I was there in your darkness, but you never saw me, you never knew. My heart was your shadow, faithful and unseen, holding all your secrets like they didn't crush me. And when you walked away like I was nothing at all, my heart stayed on the ground, still shaped like you after the fall. With the same eyes you gave me, and I pretended I was fine while my chest screamed silently. I became good at excuses, good at acting okay, good at turning heartbreak into something I could hide every day. You were my favorite habit, the one that hurt the most, the kind you keep returning even when it turns to ghosts. And I held on to maybe like it was a ring, like one day you would wake up choose me. But you never loved me loudly, never loved me proud. I was only in your life when the world wasn't around. I was a temporary comfort, a place to rest your head while I was building forever in a bed you never made. My heart was your shadow, always following you, always one step behind you. And everything you do, I loved you without asking too. I was there in your darkness, but you never saw me, you never knew. My heart was your shadow, faithful and unseen, holding all your secrets like they didn't crush me. And when you walked away like I was nothing at all, my heart stayed on the ground, still shaped like you after the fall. Who stayed when you were cold, who carried your storms and still called them beautiful. I was the soft place you landed, the silence you could use, the love you never protected, the one you didn't refuse. And now I'm learning the truth, being loyal doesn't mean being loved. Sometimes it just means you get hurt longer and call it enough. Your shadow, I lived in your light, I faded for you daily just to keep you bright. I loved you like my whole world, like my last prayer, but you left me like a whisper, like you were never really there. My heart was a shadow, but shadows still bleed, they still break in the silence, they still beg to be seen. So if you ever miss me, just look where you stood, my love behind you, like I always would. I wasn't hard to love, I was just too easy to forget. I didn't love you halfway, I loved you all the way down. Even when your eyes were distant, even when you wouldn't turn around, I gave you the softest parts of me, without asking for a thing. Like my heart was made to hold you, like pain was what love would bring. I kept your name in my mouth like a secret I couldn't let go. I defended you in my prayers when you didn't deserve me so. And every time you almost loved me, I mistook it for the truth. I built a home out of maybe and called it something I could use. I stayed gentle when you were careless. I stayed quiet when you were loud. I stayed loyal when you were leaving, and still I was never enough. But the love I gave was real, even if you made it bleed. I loved you like forever, while you loved me like a need. And if you ever miss me, no, it wasn't just a phase. The love I gave was real, you just didn't know how to stay. I watched you slowly unlove me, like it didn't hurt at all, like my tears were just background noise in the story of your fall. I learned to read your silence like a language made of knives, and still I kissed your brokenness like it could save our lives. I wore your promises like jewelry that turned my skin to bruise. I kept choosing your I don't know like I had nothing left to lose. And I smiled through the ache of being loved in small amounts, while my heart kept paying debts your love would never count. I stayed soft when you were cruel, I stayed warm when you were cold. I stayed open, you would change while you just let me fold. But the love I gave was real, even if you made it bleed. I loved you like forever, while you loved me like a need. And if you ever miss me, no, it wasn't just a fake. The love I gave was real, you just didn't know how to stay. One day you'll hear a song and feel my ghost in the melody. You'll remember how I held you like you were my destiny. You'll remember the way I forgave what should have ended us, how I made your name a shelter while you made my heart a dust. I didn't leave because I stopped loving you, I left because love shouldn't feel like drowning in the truth. I left with a heart still open, still hurting, still torn, because I loved you sincerely, and that's why I'm not yours. Yes, the love I gave was real, it was pure, it was deep, it was mine. I loved you with my whole soul, while you loved me when it was convenient sometimes. And if you ever say my name with regret inside your voice, know the love I gave was real, you just never made me your choice. I don't regret my love, I regret who I gave it to, because the love I gave was real, and it deserved to be loved back too. I kept the door unlocked for you, like you were coming home, even after all your damage turned my heart to skin and bone. I replayed our last argument like it was something sacred, as if pain could become proof that love was still created. I stared at your last goodnight until the letters fell cold, like a lie dressed up in sweetness, like a story badly told. And I blame my own emotions, called my sadness too much, while you walked away touch. I thought you'd wake up missing me. I thought your pride would finally bleed. I thought you'd come back softer, but you never did. I waited for your apology, like rain waits for the sky to break. I waited like a fool in love for the mistake you'd finally made. I waited for you to say I'm sorry, to admit you let me fall. But silence was your answer, and it hurt the most of all. I watched my friends stop asking, did he text you back today? Because my hope was getting heavy in the saddest kind of way. I smiled through all my heartbreak, like it didn't leave a scar, while inside I was collapsing, trying not to fall apart. You left me with unfinished sentences stuck inside my chest. 1,000 things I wanted to scream, but swallowed down instead. And I still protected you, even when you weren't kind, because love makes you defend the one who breaks your mind. I thought you'd feel what you destroyed. I thought regret would find your voice. I thought you'd come back shaking, but you made a choice. I waited for your apology, like rain waits for the sky to break. I waited like a fool in love for the mistake you would finally make. I waited for you to say I'm sorry, to admit you let me fall. But silence was your answer, and it hurt the most of all. Do you know what it's like to be injured by someone you trusted, to still love them with the same heart that they left disgusted? I didn't want revenge, I didn't need you to cry. I just wanted one true moment where you didn't let me lie. One sentence that could free me, one truth that could be real. That was my fault, and I know how you feel. But you let me carry everything like I was born to lose, and you stay clean in your conscience while I drown in your excuse. I waited for your apology till my love became a bruise. I waited for a miracle from someone who didn't choose. I waited for you to be human, to finally see my tears, but you turned away forever, and I waited through the years. Now I don't wait by the window, I don't beg for closure anymore. I learned some people break you and act like they weren't the war. Still sometimes in the quiet, my heart whispers painfully, I didn't want you back, my love. I just wanted you to be sorry. I remember the way you touched my hand like I was safe, then let it go so easily, like love was just a phase. I counted every heartbeat when you stood too far away. Still I kept making excuses for the damage you would make. I wore you maybe like a promise stitched into my skin. I waited in your silence like forgiveness would begin. You looked at me like comfort, not like someone you could choose. And I kept loving harder, like love could never lose. I swallowed all my questions just to keep you in my life. I turned my pain into patience, I turned my tears to light. But you never saw the bleeding underneath my quiet smile. You only loved the version of me that never asked you why. I cried while you smiled, like my heartbreak was nothing to you. I fell apart in the dark, and you slept like you didn't have to. treated mine like a sound. I cried while you smiled, and you never turned around. You kissed me like a habit you could drop when you got bored, like I was just a season, not the home you begged me for. I stayed when it was heavy, I stayed when it was wrong. I stayed through every cold goodbye and called it being strong. I watched you grow impatient with the love I tried to give, like my devotion was a chain you didn't want to live with. And when I needed comfort, you became a wall of stone. So I learned how to break quietly, so I wouldn't feel alone. I stitched my heart back daily just to keep you close to me. I made myself forgiving even when you couldn't see. And you kept taking pieces like my love was endless air, while I was running out of reasons to pretend you ever cared. I cried while you smiled, like my heartbreak was nothing to you. I fell apart in the dark, and you slept like you didn't have to. I held your name like a prayer, while you treated mine like a sound. I cried while you smiled, and you never turned around. Do you know what it feels like to love someone who won't stay? To hold them in your arms while they slowly fade away? To beg your own reflection not to call them one more time, but still forgive them in your head like it's some kind of crime? I loved you in the ugliest moments, in the mess you never saw. I loved you when you were careless, when you left me raw. And you loved the way I needed you, not the way I had a heart to. I cried while you smiled, like my tears would just rain on your skin. I shattered in the silence, and you acted like you didn't hear it. I gave you all my softness, you gave me reasons to doubt. I cried while you smiled, and you never cared how I fell down. Now I'm learning how to breathe without begging you to stay, but some nights my heart still whispers your name in pain, because I cried while you smiled, and I loved you anyway. You held my hand like you meant it, like my heart was safe with you. And I believed in every promise and every I love you too. I gave you all my gentle pieces, the parts that scared to show. I turned my pain into patience just to help your love still grow. But you looked at me like a question you were tired of answering, like my devotion was a burden, like my name stopped meaning things. And every time you hurt me, you'd say it wasn't my intent, as if intention could erase the damage that you sent. You didn't hate me, that's what made it worse. You just didn't choose me when it mattered first. My love was your mistake, something you tried on and threw away. I was the warmth you needed, then the memory you couldn't say. My love was your mistake, a heart you used to pass the time. And I'm the one still bleeding from the way you changed your mind. I watched you slowly disappear while standing next to me, like loving you was lonely even when you couldn't leave. You kissed me with a distance, you hugged me like goodbye, and I kept fixing what was breaking while you didn't even try. I blame myself for everything, my voice, my tears, my fear. I made excuses for your silence just to keep you near. I learned to read your moods like weather storms I couldn't stop. And still I held you like a treasure while you treated me like not. You said you needed space, but you needed freedom, and I stayed faithful to a fading feeling. My love was your mistake, something you tried on and threw away. I was the warmth you needed, then the memory you couldn't stay. My love was your mistake, a heart you used to pass the time, and I'm the one still bleeding from the way you changed your mind. Do you know what it does to a girl to be loved like a maybe? To be someone's almost, someone's not ready. You didn't break me in one moment, you broke me in 1,000 small ways. In every unanswered message, in every later that never came. And I hate that I still miss you, like missing you is a crime. Because my heart remembers love even when it was a lie. You'll call it bad timing, you'll call it we weren't right, but I call it what it was. You let me lose my life. My love was your mistake, and I paid for it in tears. I carried all your confusion for too many lonely years. My love was your mistake, but it wasn't weak or small. It was real, it was honest, you just couldn't hold it all. So if you ever feel regret when you hear my name in a song, remember, I wasn't hard to love, you just loved me wrong. You just loved me wrong. You spoke like you meant it, like love was in your tone, but your hands never stayed long enough to feel like home. You kissed me like a promise, then vanished like a lie, and I kept finding pieces of you in every goodbye. You said I'm not like others, you said I would never, but your care was always temporary or forever, never forever. I memorized your sweetness like it was something true, not knowing I was only learning how to lose you. You were gentle when you wanted, cold when you were done. I kept chasing after shadows just to feel like I was loved. I believed the way you sounded, I ignored the way you left, and I kept calling it love while you called it nothing serious. You left me with empty words and a full heartache, with I miss you messages that you didn't mean to make. You left me with soft lies wrapped in pretty phrases, and I'm drowning in the silence after all your always. You left me with empty words and I held them like gold, like they could keep me warm when your love turned cold. Now my tears have a language your mouth never learned. You left me with empty words and I got burned. I stayed up late rewriting everything you said, trying to find the truth inside the sentences in my head. I read between the lines until my eyes turned sore, but the more I tried to understand, the more it hurt me more. You called me special softly, then treated me like spare, like I was just a place to rest when no one else was there. And I hated how my heart still jumped to your name, even after you proved love and pain could sound the same. You knew I loved you deeply, you knew I'd never play, so you gave me little pieces just to keep me there to stay. I was loyal like a heartbeat, I was faithful like a bruise, and you were just a lesson that I didn't want to choose. You left me with empty words and a full heartache, with I miss you messages that you didn't mean to make. You left me with soft lies wrapped in pretty phrases, and I'm drowning in the silence after all your always. You left me with empty words and I held them like gold, like they could keep me warm when your love turned cold. Now my tears have a language your mouth never learned. You left me with empty words. I didn't something real. I didn't need a fairy tale, I just needed you to feel. But you were only talking, only painting me a dream, and I was out here bleeding from the love you couldn't keep. So tell me, how did you look at my heart breaking and still say I care? How did you hold my shaking hands and still not stay there? You left me with empty words and they haunt my nights. They echo in my chest like unfinished fights. You said I love you like a habit you could quit, like my whole soul wasn't hanging on it. You left me with empty words and I'm tired of pretending, tired of being the beginning of your never-ending endings. Now I'm learning what your love was truly worth. Empty words can sound like heaven, then leave you in the dirt. If love was real to you, you would have stayed when it was hard. But you left me with empty words and an empty part of my heart. I loved you in the background of your life like quiet rain, never loud enough to matter, never chosen to remain. I memorized your tired eyes, the way your voice would fall, while you never learned my story like I wasn't there at all. I held my feelings gently so they wouldn't scare you off. I turned my heart to whispers, I turned my truth to soft. I smiled through all the moments you forgot to look my way, and called it understanding when it only felt like pain. I became so easy to ignore, I made it feel like love. I kept shrinking in your shadow just to fit what you called enough. I watched you save your sweetest parts for someone else to hold, and I stayed like I was nothing, just a secret in the cold. I loved you without being seen, like a candle in a room you never entered. A broken silence kept it clean, so you could leave without surrender. I gave you everything in me, but you only touched the surface. I loved you without being seen, and that's the part that hurts the worst. I waited for you someday, like it had a real date, like you didn't use my patience just to keep your choices safe. I listened to your problems like my heart was built for that, but when I needed comfort you would vanish and detach. I watched you laugh with others like your soul that never bled, then come back to my softness when your loneliness had spread. You held me like a placeholder, warm enough to calm your night, but never enough to fight for, never worth your honest light. I learned how to be useful, I learned how not to cry. I learned to call it timing when you never even tried. And every time you walked away my love would chase your name, because I loved you like devotion while you loved me like a game. I loved you without being seen, like a candle in a room you never entered. A broken silence kept it clean, so you could leave without surrender. I gave you everything in me, but you only touched the surface. I loved you without being seen, and that's the part that hurts the worst. Do you know what it costs to be the one who stays invisible, to carry two hearts at once while yours stays untouchable? I was the hand that held you up, but you never held me back. I was the voice that saved your world while mine collapsed in cracks. I kept hoping you wake up and finally call me home, but you only loved the comfort, not the girl who felt alone. I loved you without being seen, like a star behind your morning. I bled in ways you couldn't hear, and still I stayed, still kept performing. I gave you my whole soul for free. You gave me half a heartbeat. I loved you without being seen. Now I don't know how to forgive me. If love was meant to save me, it would have chosen me too. But I loved you without being seen, and you never even knew. I didn't need a perfect love, I only needed true. A place to rest my tired heart, I thought that place was you. I came to you like winter comes with shaking hands and hope, and you wrapped me in your kindness like a warm and gentle coat. I trusted you with parts of me I never showed before, the fragile little corners I kept hidden behind doors. You held my pain like it was light, like it could never waste. So I believed your arms were where my fear would always stay. But safety isn't real when it can disappear, and love feels like a knife when it's held by someone dear. You were my only home, the only place my heart could breathe. You were my only home, now I'm homeless in my dreams. I built a life inside your voice, I hung my hopes on every word, and now your silence fills the rooms where I thought love lived. You were my only home, and you left me out in the cold. I memorized your footsteps like a song I couldn't lose. I learned the shape of your comfort like a habit I would choose. I loved you like a shelter loves the people passing through, never asking if you'd stay, just thankful that you do. But slowly you became a storm, pretending to be calm, a hand that held me softly, then forgot how to be warm. You looked at me like I was there, but never fully seen, like I was just a chapter in a book you didn't mean. And I kept fixing cracks you didn't even mind, calling it being strong while losing all my light. You were my only home, the only place my heart could breathe. You were my only home, now I'm homeless in my dreams. I built a life inside your voice, I hung my hopes on every word, and now your silence fills the rooms where I thought love lived. You were my only home, and you left me out in the cold. Do you know what it means to unpack your whole soul in someone's hands, to finally stop running, to finally believe you can stand? I gave you my real heart, not the pretty one I showed, the one that shakes, the one that breaks, the one that loves too slow. And you didn't just leave a person, you left a ruin in your place. Now every street feels unfamiliar when I walk with your absence. I still reach for you in panic when the night gets too loud, because you taught my heart one truth: you were I dared to stay. You were my only home, then you turned love into pain. I painted futures on your chest, I called it forever like a prayer. But you let go like I was nothing, like you never cared. You were my only home, and now I live in memories. If love is meant to save us, why did yours feel like goodbye? You were my only home, and I don't know where I belong tonight. You left the way a song ends, too sudden, too unfair. Like love was just a moment you could drop and disappear. I still wear your goodbye like perfume I can't wash, a memory on my skin that keeps returning when I'm lost. I replay every sentence like it's hiding what went on. Like if I listen harder, I could rewrite what you've done. I check my phone for nothing, like nothing has a name. And every silent minute feels like punishment in flames. I'm stuck inside the ending while you're already free. You close the door so lightly, like I meant nothing to leave. I keep forgiving ghosts, I keep loving what you were, but your absence keeps repeating like a wound that won't learn. You left me on repeat, on the part where I believed you, where your voice was soft and sweet, and I was brave enough to need you. Now my heart plays the same pain, same I miss you, same defeat. You moved on like it was easy, but you left me on repeat. I remember all your promises like lyrics I still know, even though you never meant them, even though you let me go. I loved you like a lifetime, like you were my only place. But you loved me like a season, and you changed without a trace. I keep walking past our memories like they're still alive, like the streetlights hold your shadow, like your hands are still mine. I hate how I'm still gentle when your love was never deep, how I still call it heartbreak when you barely had to bleed. And maybe I was foolish, but I swear I was sincere. I gave you all my best parts, you gave me disappear. You turned my love into a habit, then you broke it like a rule. And now my tears keep circling like a song stuck in the loop. You left me on repeat, on the part where I believed you, where your voice was soft and sweet, and I was brave enough to need you. Now my heart plays the same pain, same I missed you, same defeat. You moved on like it was easy, but you left me on repeat. Do you know what it's like to wake up missing someone who doesn't miss you back? To hold a love so tight, it turns into a chain around your chest. I try to hate you, but I can't. I only hate the girl I was, the one who thought your love was real, the one who trusted because I replay your laugh, your touch, your name like prayer without a guide. And every time I almost heal, my heart remembers what it lost. You left me on repeat. repeat. On the night I couldn't breathe, on the words you didn't mean, on the love you didn't keep. Now my soul plays the same scene, same collapse, same grief. You forgot me like a habit, but you left me on repeat. I don't miss you the way I should, I miss you the way I can't stop. And that's the cruelest part, you left, but my heart still hasn't stopped. I loved you in the quiet ways nobody ever sees, in the come home safe prayers I whisper to the breeze. I loved you like my heartbeat had your name inside, like every little future needed you beside. I held your broken stories like they were made for me. I stitched your doubts with tenderness and called it destiny. And when you smiled I swore the world finally felt right. I didn't know a smile can disappear overnight. You were warm when you were near me, cold when I needed you most. I kept feeding your absence like love could live on ghosts. I loved you, then you left, like my heart was just a stop along your way. I loved you, then you left, and the sky in me turned gray. You didn't even break me loudly, you broke me soft and slow, like I was never something you were scared to lose. I loved you, then you left, and I'm still standing where you chose not to. I replay every moment like it's begging to be fixed, like if I change one sentence you would never do what you did. I remember how you promised I won't hurt you, not like them, but you became the deepest cut I never saw coming. I learned how to pretend I'm fine with shaking hands. I learned how to laugh in public with a ruined heart inside. And I hate how I still look for you in crowded streets, as if love doesn't die even when it's left to bleed. You didn't take my body, you took my peace instead. Now every night feels heavy, like you're living in my head. I loved you, then you left, like my tears were nothing you could hear. I loved you, then you left, and you made loneliness appear. You didn't even break me loudly, you broke me soft and slow, like I was never something you were scared to lose. I loved you, then you left, and I'm still standing where you chose not to. If I was just a season, why did you call me home? Why did you hold me close like you were tired of being alone? You touched my soul so gently, then you vanished like a thief, stealing all the light from me and leaving only grief. And I tried to hate you, God, I tried, but my love was too honest to become a lie. So I carry your goodbye like a bruise that won't fade, like my heart is still waiting for the love you never gave. I loved you and you left, like my world was easy for you to erase. I loved you